Discover the touching truth, how a heartwarming gesture of wine revealed incredible family bonds. Mary wiped the sweat from her brow as she stood amidst the sprawling vines of the vineyard, a place where laughter used to drift on the breeze and memories of her late husband felt as alive as the plants around her. Now, each day was a blend of hard work and heartache, shadows of loss hovering over her as she juggled her duties as a single mother to Sarah and Jake. With the annual harvest festival approaching, a bittersweet reminder of what was and what could be, hope flickered dimly in her chest. Could she still send her children to college, or would her dreams wither like the autumn leaves? "Mom! Look!" Sarah's voice rang out, pulling Mary from her thoughts. She turned to see her daughter, all smiles, holding a basket of ripe grapes. Jake bounced beside her, full of energy. They were her light, her joy. But a gnawing anxiety twisted the pit of her stomach, dark as the shadows they played in. How could she provide for them? How could she keep this beloved vineyard alive without her husband? Just as Mary steeled herself to push through the overwhelming responsibilities, a familiar figure stepped onto the property, the last person she expected. Her estranged father, a man with a troubled past, stood there, weathered and worn. He had disappeared years ago, leaving a chasm of anger and sorrow in his wake. Her heart raced. Would he bring more pain or the possibility of closure? She swallowed hard, emotions surging. "What are you doing here?" she shot, anger punctuating her voice. He took a step forward, hands raised, as if readying himself for a fight. The tension between them crackled like dry leaves. Old wounds ached as silence wrapped around their heavy exchanges. Just then, an old childhood friend of hers, now a slick businessman named Ralph, arrived with a proposition disguised in charm. He smiled, but his eyes glimmered with motives. Could he offer a lifeline, or would he pull her deeper into a web of dependency? "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The air hung heavy with anticipation as the harvest festival neared. Mary's heart wrestled with fear and urgency. She and her father had years of turmoil to reconcile. They were torn apart by shame, anger, and regret, and yet there was a sliver of hope. With shaking hands, Mary went to the cellar and pulled out the old bottle of her husband's special wine, aged but preserved like their memories. As she poured the wine, a hush fell between them. For a moment, time seemed to pause, memories filling the space, the warmth of family dinners, laughter, togetherness. They sat, the powerful act of sharing a meal creating an opportunity for something new, and yet Mary's anxiety loomed larger than life. Could she trust him? Could he become part of their lives again? The question hung like an ominous storm cloud. Hope and vulnerability danced together, both fragile and fierce. As their eyes locked over the glass, Mary felt the warmth of the wine light a flicker of connection, but would it light the way forward? Would the weight of his past shatter any chance of repairing their fragile bond? Mary blinked, the rich ruby liquid swirling gently in her glass. She searched her father's eyes for signs of the man she'd once known, a doting grandparent who could make her laugh with just a silly joke. But they were filled with a storm of emotions, reflected in her own heart. The weight of years creased his brow, regret etched deeper lines in his face. "Mary," his voice trembled, breaking the silence that had stretched between them like an unbridgeable chasm. "I didn't come here to hurt you. I'm sorry." She clenched her jaw, anger rising like bile. "Sorry doesn't fix 10 years of absence, Dad. You left when we needed you most." The words came out sharp and bitter, echoing the hurt that lingered in her heart. "Please. Let me explain. I was battling my own demons. I didn't know how to face them, how to face you. I was afraid." His voice cracked, and it was in that moment of vulnerability that a flicker of something shifted in her heart. It was a familiar ache, longing for connection, the desire to understand, but also to protect herself. Before she could respond, Ralph stepped in. "Mary, let us not dwell on the past. We have a great opportunity here, something that could ensure a future. With my investment, your vineyard could thrive like never before." His smile was smooth, yet sharper than the edges of an uncut crystal. Mary's gut churned. The thought of money, of dependency on someone like Ralph felt wrong. She had fought so hard to keep this vineyard alive, not just as a business but as a lifeline, a reminder of her family and the beautiful love she once had. "And what do you stand to gain, Ralph?" She shot back, eyes narrowing. "Your motives seem hardly charitable." Ralph chuckled softly, but the tension in the air was suffocating. "You know as well as I do that sometimes, necessity leads to unconventional partnerships. I'm here to help, and in return, we can make something beautiful." Mary looked between the two men, her father, with a history of pain and regret, and Ralph, with tempting promises that felt laced with deceit. Her children, Sarah and Jake, were off picking grapes a few yards away, their laughter floating through the air like a bomb. The thought of them inherited the vineyard weighed heavily on her mind. "Mom, are you coming?" Jake's voice broke her trance. He and Sarah ran back, flushed with excitement. A sense of normalcy surrounded them, so starkly different in contrast to the turmoil brewing just steps away. She forced a smile, trying to push down heartache and indecision. "I'll be right there," she replied, her heart pounding with uncertainty. Something had to give, but what choice was the right one? At the heart of it all, she was desperately trying to stay afloat for her children amidst a storm of family secrets and shady business deals. As they resumed their earlier tasks, each movement felt heavier with that lingering tension. Mary had a decision to make, not just for herself but for Sarah and Jake. Could she really let her father back into their lives? Could she trust Ralph's offer, or would it come at too high a cost? With the sun beginning to sink lower in the sky, painting the vineyard in hues of orange and gold, Mary realized this was only the beginning. The festival would soon commence, and with it, decisions that could change everything. Swallowing her unease, she turned back to face her father, determination rising within her. "Let us finish this glass," she said, raising her cup, "and see where this takes us." But deep down, she knew that the real journey was just beginning, and the heart of her vineyard and her family hung in the balance. What would they uncover about themselves in the midst of tangled histories? The festival lights twinkled faintly in the distance, a reminder that the past was looming, but the future held a promise, waiting to be unraveled. The sun dipped further behind the hills, casting long shadows that danced among the vines. Mary leaned against the wooden railing of the vineyard's deck, feeling the weight of her father's gaze as he watched her. The laughter of Sarah and Jake mingled with the rustle of leaves, a ghostly reminder of childhood innocence that felt fleeting in contrast to the heavy conversation brewing. "Do you remember when you taught me how to prune?" Mary's voice broke the suffocating silence, her eyes fixed on the vines below. "You showed me how to trim just enough to let the grapes flourish." Her father nodded slowly, the memory flickering across his face like a candle's flame. "I remember. You were so small, but you wanted to help so badly. I was proud of you. And then you just left," she replied, her tone sharper than she intended, a mixture of hurt and confusion curling in her chest. "How could you leave me, us, when we needed you?" "Mary, I wish I could explain." He stepped closer, reaching out tentatively. "I didn't want to hurt you, but every day felt like I was losing a battle I couldn't win." His admission hit her. She had long prepared for anger, for blame. But the fear in his eyes mirrored her own fear of being vulnerable, fear of facing the past, fear of what they might find if they looked too closely. It felt disarming to be confronted with his fragility. "Maybe you could start by acknowledging how much you hurt us." The quiver in her voice betrayed her, a longing mixed with anger rising like a tide. "You missed everything. Birthdays, graduations, you missed all of it." "I know." He turned his gaze to the ground, shame washing over him. "And if I could change it, I would. Believe me, I've paid for those moments every day." The silence settled again, heavier this time, filled with unspoken scars. Mary's mind swirled as she thought about Ralph's offer. Would accepting his help mean compromising what the vineyard stood for? Every vine was a heartbeat, every grape, a story. Jake's voice called her back to the warmth of the day, snapping her out of her internal tempest. "Mom, we found the biggest grapes. You have to try them." Sarah chimed in, her grin radiant. Mary turned to see them barreling toward her, arms outstretched like little soldiers bringing back treasures. The sight of their joy sent a flare of warmth through her, momentarily softening the strained tension with her father. "Let us see them," she said, kneeling down to meet their eager eyes. As they presented their small, plump harvest, it was hard to think about anything else but that rush of happiness. For that brief moment, the world felt right, laughter echoed, and Mary's heart swelled with love, but as they laughed, she caught Ralph's silhouette watching, his smile revealing nothing and everything all at once. The culmination of choices was desperately edging closer, as if the universe was drawing a tightrope and she stood poised on the edge. Mary, her father's voice broke through the jubilant chatter. "If you want to thrive, you have to let me help." His plea hung in the air, raw and unfiltered, urging her to decide. Tension tightened around her like a vice. Could she risk it? Could the vineyard blossom anew, built on shaky foundations of betrayal and remorse? Or would reaching for her father's hand only hurt her family more? The festival's energy pulsed in the backdrop, the lights flickering in rhythmic delight. But her heartbeat remained controlled, a fierce rhythm of every conflicting emotion inside her. The sun had nearly set, and with it, the vibrant colors began to fade into an uncertain twilight. "Let us head to the festival," she finally said, pulling herself from the embrace of unease. The children cheered, oblivious to the storm raging within their mother. As they walked toward the gathering lights, Mary felt the shadows behind her multiply, the weight of her father's regret, Ralph's lurking promise, the anxiety of choices yet to be made. Each step was heavier than the last, a reminder that the festival may be a celebration, but for her, it felt like the calm before a greater storm. What truths lay beneath the surface, ready to break through, as they stepped into the vibrant heart of the gathering? The festival was alive with laughter and music, the air thick with the sweet scent of roasted corn and the rich allure of wine. Mary's heart beat in time with the vibrant atmosphere, a stark contrast to the turmoil that had just stirred within her. As they approached the main tent, colorful lights twinkled above, illuminating the joyful faces of neighbors and friends. But even among this collective joy, she felt an undeniable weight. "Look, Mom." Jake tugged at her sleeve, his voice bright with excitement. He pointed toward a booth filled with bottles glimmering in the evening light. "They've got grape juice. Can we get some?" Mary couldn't help but smile at his enthusiasm. "Of course. Let us head over," she replied, the brief moment of distraction lifting some of her inner heaviness. As they made their way to the booth, Sarah skipped alongside, her laughter ringing like a bell. Mary watched them, the shadows of doubt and hurt threatening to creep in again. The happiness of her children reminded her of the love she held within, despite her father's departure from her life. Could she really open her heart in the face of past pain? Suddenly, she spotted Ralph near the edge of the crowd, deep in conversation with a group of local farmers. His eyes danced with the same spark that had first drawn her in, and her chest tightened. There was a tug in her gut. The more she tried to focus on the festival and her children, the more her mind drifted to him. "Mom!" Jake shouted, breaking her reverie. "You're missing it." She turned. The booth staff were pouring samples, and laughter erupted as some villagers tried to impress others with their tastes. Mary's heart warmed as she watched Sarah giggle at another child's failed attempt to impress a crush with a giddy splash of juice. Then a voice brought her back to reality. "Mary, wait." It was Michael, her father. He approached with an uncertain smile that faltered in the warm glow of festival lights. Unexpectedly, the crowd seemed to part, leaving just the two of them in the spotlight, surrounded by the energy of 1,000 unspoken words. "Can we talk?" His voice was quiet, earnest. She hesitated, an instinct nudging her to turn away, but guilt knotted her stomach. This was still her father, the man who had once guided her through the very vines they now celebrated. Right here? She asked, uncertainty lacing her tone. Please, he said, his gaze imploring. She took a breath, steeling herself against the emotions threatening to engulf her. Just don't walk away. With a nod, Mary led him further from the thrumming heart of the festival, finding a quieter corner away from the din. The music faded to a mere backdrop, and shadows danced around them like hesitant spirits. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I've been thinking a lot about what's important, Michael started. I want to be part of this again, your life, the vineyard. I see how hard you've worked, and I'm in awe. She looked away, struggling to contain the flood of unshed tears. You think it's that easy? You think you can just come back and pick up where you left off? Maybe not pick up exactly. But I want to help rebuild. Create something new. His voice was steady, but his face revealed everything, the hopes ridden with fear and regret over the loss of time. But you left, she said, feeling the anger spike. The kids deserved better. I deserved better. I know. It's the greatest regret of my life. His voice shook. But I'm here now. I want to show you, I want to help you. Before she could respond, a sudden commotion drew her attention. Ralph stood just beyond the festival lights, his expression serious as he spoke with a man she recognized. Something in their intensity made her anxious. What's wrong? Mary asked, instinctively wanting to run to him. Mary! You need to see this. Jake's urgent shout broke through her thoughts and propelled her forward, as her heart raced. It'll be okay, Michael said, moving close, his reassuring gaze attempting to anchor her, but as she approached Ralph, she felt the riptide of secrets lurking beneath the surface. Waiting to pull her under. What truth awaited her, and would it bring her family together or shatter what fragile bonds remained? With every beat of her heart, she knew one thing for certain, this festival would change everything. Mary pushed through the crowd, the swirling colors and laughter fading as her focus honed in on Ralph. She had always felt drawn to his energy, but now, the seriousness of his demeanor churned her stomach. When she reached him, the conversation seemed to hush momentarily, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. Ralph, what is it? She asked, urgency lacing her voice. The man with him, someone she recognized from town, stepped back slightly as if the scene was too dramatic for him. Mary, Ralph began, his brow furrowed. It's about your vineyard. There's been an offer. An offer? She blinked, confusion gumming up her thoughts. What are you talking about? The man beside Ralph shifted on his feet, clearly uncomfortable. I just heard, there's a buyer interested. They see the vineyard as a prime development site. Mary's heart sank, a painfully sharp ache welling up. Development site? No, I won't let that happen. This vineyard is our home. Ralph stepped closer, his voice steady. I know, and I don't think it's a good idea either. But they're serious, Mary. You might need to make some choices. Choices? So now I'm supposed to sell the place my father built. Sell my legacy. Her hands clenched into fists, disbelief clouding her mind. The festival noise faded around her. Hey, Mary, breathe, Ralph said, his tone growing softer. I'm here to help you think this through. You can't decide this in a rush. Around them, the sounds of revelry bounced joyously, contrasting sharply with the turmoil raging in her heart. It was like standing on a cliff, the sparkles below offering a beautiful distraction while she was faced with the abyss of her choices. Suddenly, Mary remembered Michael standing by, watching this unfold with a pained expression. She turned to him, searching for support. Can you not fight for this? This is our family's legacy. Michael hesitated, trapped in his own sea of regret. I want to help you however I can, Mary. Just let us not rush. Maybe we need to understand what's really happening first. Then Jake burst forward, his innocent expression cut through the tension like sunlight through clouds. Mom! Can we go on the Ferris wheel? Please. His excitement was palpable, unfazed by the adult world crumbling around her. Mary glanced down at her son, his eyes shining with joy and innocence, a reminder of why she fought so hard to hold everything together. She swallowed hard, squeezing the edges of Jake's shoulders. Not right now, sweetie. Can you give me a moment? As Jake stepped back, fidgeting with his hands, Mary felt the weight of responsibility crash down on her once more. She cherished this vineyard, it was more than just land and grapes. It was family. It was hopes and dreams rooted deep in the soil. Maybe we can think of ways to keep it, Ralph suggested quietly, glancing toward the festival, where laughter echoed. I mean, there are options. We can rally the community. I don't want the community to see my failure, she interrupted, emotions bubbling to the surface, threatening to overflow. If I can't keep this land, then, what am I? There was silence, thick and heavy, but beneath it, a pulse of determination began to thrum. Maybe selling wasn't the only choice. Maybe there were paths she hadn't seen yet. Let us take a moment, Ralph urged, his eyes searching hers. Let us not panic. We can brainstorm together. You're not alone in this. Mary took a deep breath and looked at the festival in the distance. Could she afford to take the leap of faith again? Would the strength of community be enough to bolster her resolve? Just then, a burst of fireworks lit the sky, their colors painting the darkness with unexpected beauty. But as she gazed at the glowing blossoms in the night, one thought nagged at her: would they be enough to save everything she loved? And in that flickering moment of hope and uncertainty, all she could do was hold on tight, unwilling to let go of the love that tied her to her family and her future. Let us go talk to the community, she found herself saying, a rush of determination flooding her veins. If we're going to fight, we do it together. But as they moved through the crowd toward the festivity, Mary couldn't shake the feeling that the toughest decisions lay ahead, waiting silently like shadows in the night autumn air. Would it be enough? And as the music began to swell once more, she couldn't help but wonder, what truth would the gathering crowd reveal when they finally laid everything on the table? Mary's heart raced, but with each step toward the gathering crowd, her resolve solidified. The laughter echoed around her, but now it felt like an ocean of voices she was about to dive into, to pull strength from. Are you ready? Ralph asked, his breath warm beside her. She nodded, swallowing her uncertainty. As they moved closer, she could see familiar faces lighting up under the festival lights, neighbors, friends, each a thread woven tightly into the fabric of her life. It was comforting and terrifying all at once. Mom, can I have a funnel cake? Jake's small voice broke through her thoughts, eyes twinkling in the glow of colorful lanterns. Mary knelt beside him, her heart softening. We'll get one after, okay? Right now, we need to talk to some people. She rubbed his shoulder and saw the hesitation melt from his face, replaced by an eager grin. Okay. He bounced on the heels of his sneakers, energy radiating from him. They approached a group of locals standing by the bonfire, the firelight casting shifting shadows. Mary cleared her throat, emotions bubbling beneath her skin. Hey, everyone. Can we have a moment? Glenn, the town's mayor, turned toward her. Of course, Mary. What's on your mind? Her pulse quickened. I just found out that there's an offer to buy my vineyard to develop it. I can't let that happen. This is a part of all of us. A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd, concern painting all their faces. Glenn stepped closer, his brow furrowed. That's terrible news. We can't let them take it away from you. What can we do? Jack, a longtime farmer in town, spoke up, his weathered hands clenched. You've given so much to this community. We need the vineyard, its spirit, its memories. Mary felt hope bloom within her as they shifted toward each other. A tapestry of shared memories woven with laughter, tears, and the sense of fresh grapes filled the air. Ralph chimed in, maybe we can start a campaign. An event to rally people and show just how important this place is. We can unite as a community. Yes. Someone shouted from the back. A festival. Bigger than ever. We'll show the buyers they can't just come in and take what's ours. Excited voices ignited around her, blending with the music. Ideas sparked like the fireworks from earlier, each one more powerful than the last. Mary's heart swelled as she felt their support push against the prickly doubt still nagging at her. Jake tugged on her hand, breaking through her dizzying thoughts. Mom! Can I help with the festival? I can put up the banners. Mary nodded, a smile breaking through her anxious facade. Absolutely, buddy. We'll need your energy. As the chatter around them grew louder with plans and suggestions, she felt a sense of unity envelop her. They were moving toward a solution, a fight they shared, a future they all wanted to protect. I'm proud of you, Mary, Ralph whispered, standing close. This is your moment. But even as she felt their love and support wrap around her, there was a gust of wind, hinting that the fight would not be easy. What if their best efforts weren't enough? Could they really save the vineyard? Let us have a meeting tomorrow at the barn, she called out, determination echoing in her voice. We can gather everyone and brainstorm strategies. The crowd began to disperse with renewed energy and hope, buzzing with anticipation. Yet, somewhere deep down, doubt still lingered. That shadow of fear accompanied her as she walked back with Jake, Ralph beside them. As they left the main area of the festival, a deep sense of urgency pulsed inside her. They didn't just need to strategize, they needed to uncover what they were really willing to sacrifice to protect the vineyard and one another. And as she watched fireworks illuminate the night sky, racing to share their fate, she thought of the legacy her father had built, and her heart whispered a prayer that it was enough. What would they find out about themselves in the days ahead? Would their collective strength reveal a truth that could change everything? The next morning arrived like an unwrapped gift, full of potential yet wrapped in anxiety. As sunlight streamed into Mary's kitchen, she brewed coffee, each drip a countdown to the gathering at the barn. Jake was already buzzing with excitement, his small hands grasping a stack of colorful papers. Look, Mom. I made some flyers for the festival. He spread them out on the table, each one decorated with drawings of grapes, balloons, and bold letters proclaiming, "Save the Vineyard." Mary smiled, her heart swelling with pride. These are amazing, sweetheart. Your artistic touch will pull everyone in. Jake beamed, his cheeks turning a deeper shade of red. Can I hand them out at school? Of course. You'll be our secret weapon, she said, ruffling his hair, but as she watched him, a shadow flickered across her mind. She couldn't shake the worry that this wouldn't just be about pulling off a festival, it was about a fight for their home and future. Ralph arrived right on time, a morning fresh with determination. Morning, Mary. Ready to shake things up. They jumped into action, gathering supplies, organizing the flyers Jake created, and prepping for the meeting. As they loaded boxes into Ralph's truck, Mary felt the excitement of the upcoming festival mixing with a rising tide of dread. When they arrived at the barn, the air buzzed with chatter. Neighbors filled the space, lively conversations filling the air. Mary felt as if she were standing on a stage, the spotlight illuminating her determination. Jake waved to the few friends he knew, running to join them in laughter, while Mary dashed to the front where a makeshift podium awaited. Thank you all for coming, she began, her voice unwavering despite the knot twisting in her stomach. I'm overwhelmed by the support already. But we have a tough road ahead. The crowd fell silent, attentive. Mary glanced around and saw the familiar faces etched with both concern and hope. We need to determine how far we're willing to go to save the vineyard. This place means a lot to us. It's not just land, it holds our memories, our families. She felt the energy in the room shift, a collective heartbeat pulsing together in solidarity. As ideas flew around the room, Mary listened as plans took shape, petition signing, community art projects, and perhaps even a massive bake sale. But as people talked, she found herself pondering a deeper question. Ralph mentioned a campaign, but it's more than just that, she interrupted gently, raising her hand. What sacrifices are we ready to make? Fundraisers are great, but the air shifted. But what? Glenn, sitting near the front, asked. Mary hesitated. What if we have to put in more than just time? What if we need to go directly against the buyers? Stand together firmly, even if it means facing opposition. The room buzzed with murmurs, some excited, some anxious. Jack stood, leaning on the wall, looking pensive. If it's a fight they want, then we should show them we won't back down. We protect our own. A flicker of cheer erupted in the barn, voices echoing back against the wooden walls. This was more than just a casual gathering, it was a promise to one another, a commitment plastered thick with courage. Mary stood taller, hope rising within her. Together, the community began discussing the ideas and plans, each bringing a piece of themselves to the table. Yet, a small voice echoed in the back of her mind: how far would each of them go? As the meeting wound down and people began to shake hands and exchange nods, a tension lingered like an unread chapter waiting to unfold. Mary's gaze drifted to Jake, who was still chatting away with friends. His innocence reminded her of what they were fighting for, the future they all envisioned. Could they really stand together against the buyers? Would they be enough? The questions circled, but as her friends began to rally around her, a steady feeling settled in her heart. But just as hope felt within reach, a figure at the door caught her eye, a shadow lingering just out of clear sight, a reminder that their battle was far from over. What startling truths would be unveiled when they confronted the buyers? Would their courage hold firm, or would doubts begin to creep back in? Mary took a deep breath, preparing herself for whatever came next. Mary stood at the podium, her heart thumping in her chest. The gathering was breaking up, but her mind resisted closure. It clung to the figure she glimpsed at the door. The familiar face belonged to Mr. Smith, the very man who represented the buyers. She felt her stomach twist at the thought of his presence looming over their community gathering. Jake. She called out, raising her voice to cut through the chatter. Could you help me for a second? Sure, Mom. Jake bounded over, the joy still lighting up his innocent face. Stay close to me, she whispered, her worry spilling over. I need you to be on lookout. If Mr. Smith comes over, I want you to distract him. Jake nodded earnestly, a miniature soldier ready to defend his territory. As Mr. Smith entered the barn, the cheerful atmosphere shifted. Laughter faded, whispers filled the air. Mary's heart raced. There he stood, slick hair and an all-too-smooth smile, scanning the crowd. I just wanted to say a few words, Mr. Smith's voice boomed, breaking the collective tension. Mary glanced at Jake, whose brows were furrowed with confusion. Thank you, Mr. Smith, but I think we're in the middle of something here, Mary interjected, her palms sweating against the podium. Oh, I can see that, he replied smoothly, but there was a predatory glint in his eyes. But I think it's important for everyone to know that change is coming. We can help this community thrive. Thrive? Glenn shot back, disbelief etched across his face. You mean swallow our vineyard whole? The crowd shifted, a wave of murmurs and yells rising and crashing like an ocean wave. Mary could feel the anger swelling around her, hot and raw. Now, Mr. Smith stepped forward, attempting to calm them with condescension. I'm only trying to offer better opportunities. You'll have schools, parks, nothing wrong with progress. Progress shouldn't mean losing our roots. Mary exclaimed, stepping closer to him. Her anger ignited a spark of courage, pushing her to stand taller. This vineyard is not just the land, it's our identity. A flurry of voices surged in agreement, and she felt a swell of pride. You think we're going to let you take that away? Estelle interrupted, her eyes blazing. You don't understand the love and history tied to this place. Mr. Smith, growing visibly agitated, changed his tactic. I understand a lot, actually. And I'm sure I have some incentives that could swing this in my favor. The crowd gasped. Mary's heart sank. Her instincts screamed that this was turning dangerous, that this man was playing a game she was not ready for. I want to let you use our home as leverage. She shouted, her voice echoing against the barn walls. Behind her, Jake clutched the edge of the podium, his eyes wide. Mom, are we gonna be okay? Yes. We will be fine. Mary shouted over the growing tumult, trying to inject calm into the chaos brewing around them. Mr. Smith smirked, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. We'll see about that, he said, turning on his heel and striding towards the door, leaving behind a whirlwind of emotions that cracked through the tight bonds of the community. As silence descended, Mary felt the weight of her words hang in the air. She took a deep breath, seeking comfort in the strength of the community around her. How could he think he could just take us on? Ralph said beside her, his face flushed with indignation. He thinks he can win us over with shiny promises, but we know our worth, Mary replied, determination flooding through her. Could they truly overcome the looming threat? And how could they prepare for whatever schemes Mr. Smith might plot next? As Mary looked around at her friends, a shared understanding passed between them. Her heart pounded with both fear and hope. The fight was just beginning, but would they be able to keep their beloved vineyard from slipping away? The unease settled like dust in the corners of her mind, and she knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, but the flicker of resolve within her lit the path ahead. What would they discover about themselves in the battles to come? The next morning, the sun broke through the heavy clouds, casting a golden glow over the vineyard. Mary stood by the window, gazing out at the rows of lush grapevines that had stood strong for generations. The place pulsed with life, each vine a reminder of the dreams and struggles that had shaped their community. But beneath the beauty, shadows of uncertainty loomed. Mom, can we have grape juice today? Jake piped up from behind her, his excitement cutting through her worries like a knife. Of course, Han, she replied, forcing a smile. The innocence in his voice tugged at her heart. In that moment, she remembered why they were fighting for Jake's future, for the future of all the kids who played in the fields, and for the heritage that was woven into everything about the vineyard. Let us get breakfast ready, she said, moving towards the kitchen. Jake happily skipped ahead, humming an old favorite tune. Mary followed, her mind still circling back to Mr. Smith's words. What incentives could he have? And what would the community do to stop him? As they sat together, sharing pancakes and juice, Mary's thoughts drifted. A plan began to form. They could hold an emergency meeting and gather everyone to brainstorm. Collective action might just be the way to turn the tide against Mr. Smith. While she busied herself washing dishes, an idea struck her. Jake! She called out. Can you help me with something special today? What are we doing? His eyes sparkled with curiosity. I want to make a batch of our best grape juice for the gathering tonight. It'll remind everyone what we're fighting for. Yes. I love that. Jake rushed to her side, his small hands eager to help. Together, they gathered baskets filled with ripe grapes, the sweet aroma wafting through the kitchen. They laughed and chatted, each grape a symbol of their determination. As the hours passed, Mary noticed the steady stream of neighbors arriving to help prepare for the meeting. Glenn brought over his old juicer, and Estelle showed up with boxes of freshly baked pastries. Slowly, the kitchen filled with friends, laughter echoing off the walls. The warmth of community wrapped around her, and her spirit began to lift, buoyed by the collective strength. Later that afternoon, as they gathered in the barn, Mary stood at the front, heart thumping as it had the night before. She looked out at the faces of her friends and neighbors, all united by the same mission. This is our vineyard. She began, voice steady. We need to stand together in this fight. Our memories, our roots, they deserve to be honored, not erased. Cheers erupted from the crowd, a wave of support washing over her. For that moment, all the fear and uncertainty felt like distant echoes, but then, just as the energy began to crescendo, someone knocked rapidly at the barn door. "What now?" Glenn mumbled, his brow furrowing. Mary's heart dropped. The confidence she had felt moments before began to fray. When the door swung open, the sunlight filled the space, and in walked Mr. Smith, his smile wide and disarming. "Ladies and gentlemen," he called, surveying the room with a calculated charm. "I believe we can have a friendly chat about all this. No need for tension. I have an offer you won't want to refuse." Gasps filled the barn, and Mary's blood ran cold. The fight wasn't over, it had only just begun. Would they be able to weather another storm of manipulation? Or could Mr. Smith's charm and tactics shake their resolve? She felt the weight of the moment pressing down like a storm, and she braced herself for the battle ahead. Everything depended on their next move. The air inside the barn crackled with tension as Mr. Smith leaned against the doorframe, a picture of casual confidence. Mary's heart raced as she stepped forward, the warmth of her neighbor's unwavering support at her back. "We're not interested in your offers, Mr. Smith," she declared, her voice steady, even as her insides churned. "All you need to do is listen," he said, holding up a hand. The crowd murmured uneasily. "I can help you make this vineyard a destination, not just a memory. I'm offering resources and development that could bring in tourists, put your little town on the map." "Tourists?" Glenn interjected, stepping beside Mary, protective and fierce. "At what cost? You think building hotels on our land is the solution? This is not just a business to us." Mr. Smith smiled, but it felt twisted. "It's about growth. You're all being short-sighted. This vineyard could thrive beyond your wildest dreams. I'll ensure it flourishes." Mary clenched her fists. His words sounded sweet, but she could sense the bitterness beneath. "This vineyard already has life," she shot back. "It's more than just profit for us, it's family, history, and love. We won't let you turn our home into a commodity." A wave of murmurs swelled through the crowd, emboldening her resolve. She glanced at Jake, who peered up at her with wide eyes, gripping onto the edge of the table. "Mom, he's lying, right?" he asked, fear flickering in his voice. Mary knelt beside him, heart swelling with fierce love. "No, honey," she said softly. "We're not letting him take what's ours. Not now. Not ever." Turning back to Mr. Smith, she felt the adrenaline surging through her veins. "You want to talk about growth? Let's discuss what our community stands to lose. You can't buy our memories." The crowd began to rally behind her words, standing taller, their voices merging to form a chorus of defiance. "We won't forget our roots," shouted Estelle, arms crossed defiantly. Mr. Smith's face turned dark, and he shifted his posture, the charm slipping away. "You think holding on to this place is going to help your families? Reality is waiting for none. If you refuse my deal, there might be nothing left to inherit," he threatened, the edge in his tone evident. "Then we'll face that reality together," Mary said, her heart racing but steady. "But we refuse to sell out not our home, our life, our love." Suddenly, she felt a surge of energy, igniting the room. "Let's organize a community festival, show everyone what this place truly means. Celebrating our vineyard, our families. We'll protect what makes us who we are." The barn exploded with enthusiasm, claps, cheers, voices shouting ideas. Each individual was full of life, united against an intruder who threatened to shatter their foundation. "I have ideas for games," Jake shouted, jumping up and down. His face was alive with excitement. "And we can have grape juice, too." "Yes," Mary exclaimed, ruffled his hair with affection. "We'll put together a festival to unite us all, a reminder of everything we stand for. We can showcase our vineyards, educate people, and reach out to everyone who loves this place." Gradually, Mr. Smith's composure faded. The crowd stood tall, and he was losing control. "You really think this festival will change anything?" he scoffed. It already has, she replied, her voice ringing clear, unwavering against his doubt. With a flick of her wrist, she gestured to the people around her: neighbors, friends, community. We aren't just a plot on a map for you to pluck. We're a family, growing, thriving. And we fight together. He straightened up, determination laced with frustration. Suit yourselves. But I'll be back, and when I return, remember this moment, because I'll make sure you regret it. As he stormed out, silence turned to a triumphant uproar. Cheers erupted, echoes of hope resonating in the barn. Mary's chest swelled with pride as she looked at Jake, and then at her community, each connection sparking like fireflies in the night. Let us do this. Mary shouted, feeling renewed fervor swarming through her veins. Let us plan the festival and gather our strengths. We can, and we will protect our home. With every shared idea, every voice rising in agreement, they forged a united front, hands clasping together, silhouettes against the barn's warm light. Mary knew the road ahead would be rife with challenges, but these were her people. Together, they would navigate every twist and turn, sowing seeds of love, hope, and memory. Tomorrow, they would rise like the dawn, fierce and unwavering, and as she turned back toward the gathering, excitement thrumming in her heart like music, she felt something powerful stir within her. They would show the world the true essence of their vineyard, their dream, their legacy bonded by love and determination. It was the beginning of a new chapter. As they began their planning, she realized one thing was clear: it was time to ignite the heart of their community, and together, they would bring the festival to life and safeguard everything that made them who they were. Now, it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread our message of hope and unity. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now and be part of our journey. This is the moment to show your support.